I forgot to start the recording. I'm going to introduce you again because we're going to play this back. I'm here with Nora Lucas, the U.S. representative of Wines in Argentina, and we're talking about Malbec Day, and we're getting rolling here. So we're going to actually jump in. There are people out there who are interested in actually drinking these wines, so we're going to kick this off, actually jumping into our first bottle. I'll pour you some before, and I'll pour myself some before.
Thank you.
Showing off the label to folks. So we are now pouring the Trivento Malbec Reserve, and this comes from the Mendoza region. I get a little bit of a, let's see if we can get a little close-up of the actual bottle here. In focus would be helpful, but of course, things don't always want to cooperate. It's 14% alcohol, it says on the back label. So this is an interesting thing because people have learned about Malbec. They associate Malbec with Argentina, and Mendoza has carved out sort of a name for itself as the capital of Malbec in Argentina. But really, when you get into Mendoza, which here on this little map is towards the bottom of the red area, and if you dive further in, you can see Mendoza in the center here, surrounded by various appellations. Mendoza is not just one appellation; it's surrounded. Can you talk a little bit about the appellations?
Oh, definitely. There's actually 5 different subregions. You have Mendoza, and there you have the central. You have the east side of Mendoza. You have the west side of Mendoza, and then you have the area of Luján de Cuyo, where this wine comes from. Then you have the Uco Valley, and then that's very close to the mountains and to the west of the province of Mendoza. And then you have in the south San Rafael. That's like a 3-hour drive from Mendoza City. And San Rafael is totally different. Oh my God, as soon as I open this bottle and I look at the color, this is Malbec. Welcome to Malbec.
I don't know if you guys can see the color. You won't be able to see through this. It's a deep, opaque, glass staining purple wine.
Yes.
And just because we have the shot here, a little bit of, we were talking about the location and the hills and the Andes.
Well, Luján de Cuyo is definitely the traditional and very special home of Malbec. It's the first DOC that we have in Argentina.
Okay.
And there are some DOC wines made of Malbec. So the color of Malbec, definitely purple.
Definitely purple opaque. Lots of color here.
A good concentration.
This is for me, very interesting wine because Malbec has. This is not an expensive bottle of Malbec, and at this price point, there's a lot of Malbec that seems in the past have been really fruit-driven, a little sweet, really influenced by oak, and this definitely retains a little bit more of a rustic character.
Oh, yeah.
There's more complexity. It's not just a fruit-driven wine.
This is a wine that has loads of fruit, definitely black fruit, but in the palate, it really fills the middle of the palate and has a wonderful finish. I agree with you about the rusticity, and I don't mind. I love it.
I like the rusticity. For me, the rusticity of this wine, or any wine, makes it more interesting to drink a second glass. And the sort of angles, the rustic angles, allow it to work well with food, where, for me, a very modern wine, very smooth, low acid, can be sometimes difficult to pair at the table.
And you notice that it has great acidity.
It's great acidity, nice tannins, nice blend of mineral and a little bit of an herbal stem kind of quality to it.
And the lingering. Well, this is a wine award. All these wines that we're going to taste today are trophy winners of the Argentinian Wine Awards.
Oh, yes, of course.
In 2000, that happened in February. So these are newcomers. They were flown in especially for the tasting today because, of course, the winery submitted these wines to the Wine Awards in December. So they are not yet in the market. They're coming in a few months. Probably next month, you have to drink this wine.
You have to go and track this down.
So you can tell that this is one of the trophy winners. Winners. I have to pronounce better.
Winners. Imported by Excelsior Wine. here in Brookville, New York. So you should certainly be able to find this on the East Coast. I don't know if the West Coast
Oh
has.
yeah, they're everywhere.
Trivento's everywhere.
Yes, yes.
So do you know a little of the history of Trivento? We're drinking the 2012 Malbec, by the way.
Yes, and for the 2012, the tannies are smooth. This is a 1-year-old wine.
I know. I was surprised when I saw that. That's why I mentioned it. I'm not drinking a lot of 2012 reds yet.
No. So Trivento was born. The parents of Trivento are Conchitoro.
Oh.
So the Chileans have crossed the mountains, and they're making. They have founded Trivento, and this is their Argentine winery, and they have proven to be extremely successful. I think.
It's a new project for them?
No. It's from probably 15, 20 years already.
20 years ago.
15 years. Let me see. I think it's 15 years. I have to check my notes. But definitely, all these is wonderful what they have done. And they have in Luján de Cuyo one of the premier regions in Mendoza.
So when Conchitoro came, obviously the Argentine wine industry, it's an old historic industry, was well established. But when Conchitoro came from across the mountains, was there some fear? Were people upset? Were people happy? Were people saying, "What are these Chileans doing in our backyard?"
Gregory, we didn't shoot them.
Not all of them. Maybe some.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Today there are 8 wineries from Chile that own wineries in Argentina. You have Santa Rita, San Pedro, Santa Carolina. They all have wineries in Argentina. On the other hand, we can talk about the evolution, one of the latest phases of the Argentine wine industry. We talked before about 1860s, the first school of agronomy. But we can tell that since the year 2000, we had a huge wave of foreign producers coming to Argentina, not only flying winemakers, but foreign producers, mostly from France, not from Chile. Chile's only 8. I usually say that we were colonized by Spain, we were conquered by Italy, and now we have been reconquered by the French.
So conquered by Italy, all the Italian immigrants that came.
Of course.
And is that really where the wine industry was born?
Oh, definitely.
The Italians spread wine.
Yes.
Still spreading wine throughout the world.
I know.
Wherever
They're
we
responsible.
go.
California.
Yeah, absolutely. Brazil.
Australia, Brazil, Argentina. Julius Caesar to the hilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So is this what you expect from? And this is a $12 Malbec. Is this what you expect from a $12 Malbec?
I was floored, and I said, "Oh my God, this wine has a great price-quality ratio. It's fantastic."
It certainly does.
Yes.
So what when you talk about Argentine Malbec, or when people ask you and they don't know anything about Argentine Malbec, what do you tell them to expect? What should people who are not familiar with Argentine Malbec expect or look for in the bottles?
Well, I think that this is a good example because Malbecs are softer than Cabernet Sauvignon, but are much more powerful than a simple Merlot. Their wines have to have a lot of character, personality. Having sweet tannins helps a lot, but the wines are very flavorful. And although you have said that Mendoza is the cradle of Malbec, if you talk to anybody else or every producer in any other region of Argentina, they will say they too are proud of their Malbecs. So Malbec is all spread out throughout the country.
Did the wine industry in Argentina originate around Mendoza?
Well, we couldn't say that particularly, but definitely Mendoza is today 66% of all the wine produced in Argentina. And it's 66 because the other regions grew.
It used to be 100 or 80?
Yeah, it was 80%, it was 70%. But what's happening now that all the other regions are starting, Neuquén didn't exist before, 15 years ago. So I think that what's happening is that we could say that Salta, because it was part of it has to be, but Malbec was the first one because in Mendoza because of the school and Monsieur Pouget who brought it there. But it has spread throughout the country.
And I would imagine I'm guessing that in Argentina itself, the Argentines have Malbec has a special place in the Argentine wine consciousness, or do they drink
Yes and
Cabernet
no.
Sauvignon?
Yes and no, because as you said before, Argentina was, and I said it, Argentina was conquered by the Italians. And the Italian culture, the Italian food and wine culture is huge in Argentina. But if we can go back 20 or 30 years from now, 20 years back, the Italians didn't know much what they were drinking. The wines were just what they like. There was not a sophistication in the wine industry in Italy. Before Gaia, before Antinori. Even Antinori, probably one of his ancestors, was just making simple
Oh,
wines.
I'm sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So we can say that traditionally the Argentine wine people, although we drink a lot, we used to drink 90 liters per capita per year. And we, at the time, probably were 20 million or 25 million. Today we're 42 million people. And we are drinking close to 30 liters per capita. So our drinking has gone down.
It's still significant
yes.
compared to the U.S.
Yes, but I think that the newer generations are becoming much more sophisticated, and they're looking. Before, Malbec was blended with Bonarda, with whatever they had, and the wines that our people used to drink was blended wine.
There's nothing wrong with that. We have some blended wines
Of course, well,
coming up.
Of course, but it's blended the old way.
So you brought up Bonarda, which I think is it's Malbec. We're focusing on Malbec, but we're talking about the wines of Argentina. Bonarda, which is known as Charbono in the U.S.
Yes.
It makes for I like Bonarda. For the right time of year, barbecue, hamburgers, it's not a sophisticated wine, but as just a regular drinking wine, it really...
It's pizza. You forgot to say pizza.
It's pizza. It's hamburgers. It's a very casual, easygoing, fruity wine. Is it well thought of in Argentina today, or is it thought of?
Well, Bonarda, it was part of the blends, and the sophistication of Bonarda being vinified as 100%. It happened 10 years ago. Nieto Senetiner was one of the first wineries to do that, and this was the rediscovery of a grape. And now other wineries are making 100% Bonarda, or they're making 80%, or they're doing blends 50% Bonarda, 50% Malbec. Definitely, it's a more rustic. I call it more macho than Malbec, but it makes for a wine that is fun.
It's fun. One of the advantages I would imagine a lot of producers in Argentina have are that I'm sure there are old vine Malbec. There's old vineyards of Bonarda. Yes. Is it something? I mean, in the U.S., old vines are considered a marketing tool for sure. You see a lot of labels that say old vines, but there's a tremendous recognition of older vineyards in the U.S. Bonarda, it's sort of like Zinfandel in the U.S.
Yes.
We've got these old vine Zinfandel vineyards. I was wondering if old vine Bonarda and old vine Malbec is becoming more important.
Yes. More so I have seen more old vine Malbec than old vine Bonarda. I think Bonarda is very young as 100% varietal. Malbec is more traditional. But in Argentina, we don't have phylloxera. So our vines are on their own roots.
Oh, that's
most of them.
Very interesting distinction.
They are not ungrafted. So we have a huge volume of non-grafted vineyards that are on their own roots. And the age can be 70, 80, 100. And that makes, so for us, because we have that, some wineries are starting to work on making special wines from single vineyards that are very old. But most of the wines that we have are made of blend of those old vineyards and younger vineyards.
Okay. We're talking about blends. I have this lined up as the Dedicado next.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So this is, let's create some space here.
Yes.
Finca Fleischmann, Dedicado. This is a blend.
Yes.
Trying to remember what the blend here was.
I have it.
It's 85% Malbec, 10...
70. I have it differently.
Because
you're looking at the label?
No, I went to the website, and the website on one page said 85% Malbec, 10% Cabernet Sauvignon, 5% Syrah, and on another page for the same wine, it said 75%.
I have the text sheet.
Yes, the tech sheet, 75%.
Well, it says 70%.
Or 70%.
Let's take it from the text sheet. 70% Malbec, 5% Syrah, 25% Cabernet Sauvignon.
This is a big, heavy bottle.
Yes.
Now, this is a producer that I'm actually very familiar with because my father used to. They never made a wine. I never had a wine in a bottle this big,
Yeah.
but my father used to buy the Finca Flichman, and I don't think it was just Malbec. I think it was some sort of a blend by the case. My father's an old Italian man, so he drinks a lot of wine.
Well, this is a very old winery. It goes back to the 1890s, and it was a Polish guy, Sammy Flichman.
Polish guy.
A Polish guy,
A
yes.
Polish winemaker.
Yes.
And he settled in Mendoza?
Yeah. And the winery was purchased by Sogrape,
Mm-hmm.
the Portuguese. Again, 1520. I'm a little off with my years.
Time goes by awfully
Yes.
quickly. So there's a certainly a significant difference between these
Yes.
two wines. This is much deeper, more complex, intense wines. The Trivento is very nice. It has a little obvious oak, very pretty fruit.
Well, something key to this wine, and Dedicado, this is one of their higher ends, is that the vineyards are planted in Uco Valley. This is a blend not only of varietals, but something that is happening very often now in Argentina or with the producers. Because there is a new understanding of the importance of terroir. So producers are buying vineyards in different areas, or they're buying fruit from different areas, and they're blending the same grape, but from Uco and from Luján. In this case, there is Uco Valley fruit and there is Maipú fruit. So
this is all around Mendoza.
yes, but
with
Uco Valley.
Uco being towards the
Yes,
south.
yes.
So in this picture,
No,
it's
here
yeah.
would be Uco.
And here's Mendoza.
Yes, and this Uco would be the red that is transversal, and this area would be the closest to the mountains, actually in the mountains, and the altitude can reach 4,000 feet above sea level. Another characteristic of Argentina is the thermal amplitude, and we have it everywhere.
Definitely wanted to get into because it's a little unusual because here you have a lot of wine production around the world is, if not coastal, close enough to the coast to be influenced by the ocean. It's one of the most significant features of a lot of winemaking regions. And in Argentina, you don't have
Nothing.
You have gigantic mountains on one side.
Yes, everything is a desert. We don't have any water. The rainfall is very, very small. And for irrigation, we have to use. Oh my God, we are very blessed to have the melted snow and the mountain range from the mountains. And that water is very rich in minerals. The soils in Mendoza, all these areas from north to south, very poor.
Very young.
Young. It's only a few million.
Yeah, it's only a few million, but have not had a chance for organic material to build up.
Yeah, and very poor. So you have these vines that have deep roots trying to get water from wherever they can, but they go through different layers of the soil. You have this very rich water coming from the mountains. It's totally continental climate. The only water is the Pacific Ocean, but you have to go up 10,000 feet.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Through the Andes. So what's happening, another characteristic that I think is very interesting about Argentina, that happens from north to south, and we have a wine from Salta that we're going to taste, is the thermal amplitude. During the day is very, very hot. And in Mendoza, it can get up to 95 degrees. But at night, it can go down to 65 or 60. So that's during the summertime. So that's a fantastic opportunity for the grapes to relax, refresh.
Gain some acid back.
Yes.
So you get lots of ripeness,
Yeah.
but you still can get a lot of natural acidity.
So in the nose, I feel I can hear. To me, wine is sound.
I can hear too. I can hear this too.
Coffee, toffee. I can see the Cabernet.
it might be the power of suggestion, but I also get what might be a little bit of sort of a violet floral quality from the Syrah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very pretty nose. It's got a lot of layers. It's got this sort of
Wow.
sweet base, the coffee and the toffee.
Yeah.
It's got ripe fruit. It's got a little bit of minty herbal spice.
Yes.
And then it's got the violets on top.
And in the palate, it's a very powerful wine. Really, the tannins. This is a 2009, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Still young.
So, Advice Sisters, we've got a couple of questions out there. Why is this so heavy? People want to know why so much glass. I don't know if we have an answer for that.
No, I think that Fleischmann is very proud of having produced this quality wine, and they went all overboard.
So Fleischmann, as I said, I'm not terribly familiar.
Caballero de la Cepa, wasn't that the name from Fleischmann 20 years ago?
It could
I think
be.
so. Yes, that was the famous wine.
That was their blend that my
Yes,
father drank
yes,
a lot
yes.
of. So that's exactly where I was going. But though, I mean, Fleischmann, I know Fleischmann, but I don't know them as a producer of premier
Yes.
type of wines.
Mhm.
Is this something that they're moving to, or has it always been part of their portfolio? And there was just no market in the U.S. for it 20 years ago. So
I think it's part of their evolution of understanding. I think that they were always making in Argentina a premium wine, but it was not exported. And I think that the big battle is part of the strategy of the pride. I call it more proud about the wine, and they went all overboard with the cork, with the bottle, with the label, and more important, with the wine.
So here's another question about this wine from Wine Food Travelers. What would you pair? What food would you pair with this?
With the dedicado,
Yes.
definitely we need some chorizo, Philip. We need chorizo. We need at the beginning of the barbecue some sweetbreads, some blood sausages, and chorizo.
So this is just your typical Argentine meal, right? Sweetbreads, blood sausage. It sounds fantastic.
But don't you think so? Because the tannins are still young, but they're very sweet. The wine has a lot of structure. It has a very good acidity, and I will say this acidity is Uco Valley acidity. So by having this good acidity, definitely helps you. Those blood sausages, the chorizo, and the sweetbreads are very high in fat,
Yeah.
and this acidity will break them in very, very nicely.
I think it's a great direction to go in. I was also thinking some gamey stuff.
Yes.
Because the wine has an almost kind of gamey character, but then there's the herb and fruit interplay.
Yeah.
So it would be great with some lamb or
Oh yeah.
all red wine is great with lamb. But
You know, we eat lamb too in Argentina. We are big on lamb.
you sell us your beef and you eat your lamb.
No, we eat our beef.
I've heard that. I've heard that there are a couple of beef restaurants, a couple of steak restaurants in Argentina.
I know. Oh, yeah.
So that's joking, of course. Argentina's famous for their beef.
Yes.
It's certainly a staple. From what I understand, it's mostly grass-fed, or a lot of it's grass-fed.
Yes. Yes.
Gives it a slightly different flavor, different type of fat, different texture. So what do Argentines drink with beef?
Red wine.
Any red wine? As long
Any
as it's
red
red,
wine.
they're happy?
Yeah. Well, you know what they say about Florence, and you go to Tuscany, and the wines from the region, they taste very good with the food of the region.
Sure.
So we can say we're not Tuscany, but we have our own wines and
You have
our
your own food. And,
Yes.
and the steaks, when you guys grill up steaks,
Yes.
very simple.
Yes. Actually, it's totally opposite than here in America. In America, what I noticed is that you marinate by the night before the meat. We don't. We put some salt. And the difference in our grill compared to the American grill is we don't put the meat on the fire. The fire is to the side. So the meat is cooked because of the heat of the fire, not because
Not
of the
flames.
flames of the fire. And that's what makes it. And the salt allows for the meat to be very juicy. And then afterwards, we have to put chimichurri. It's our main sauce.
So you marinate after you cook.
Yes.
We marinate before.
Yes,
We
yes.
burn it.
Yeah.
You-
No.
Sometimes.
We all eat it.
I mean, it's sort of like a Tuscan steak, which is
Yeah.
cooked in the grill next to the fire, not on top of the fire.
It must be the Italian heritage again.
Must be, absolutely. This is a really nice wine, and it does have. It's interesting. It does have. I was going to say some of a sort of like a Bordeaux quality. It does
Yes.
have the quality of a blended wine.
Yeah, and elegant, very elegant.
So is Finca Flickman a unusual winery in Argentina, being founded by
Yes,
someone from Poland?
definitely. Yeah, because we have Norton that was founded by a British man who came to build the railway system in Argentina. So we can say that, of course, there were not that many Polish people that went into the wine business in
Right,
Argentina.
yeah, it's a little surprising.
Probably one or two. But we have Bernardo Weinert, the famous producer also from Argentina, in Argentina. I think that it was an anomaly, but and the majority was definitely Italian. I think that when I think of American or California wine history, Sebastiani, Gallo, Mondavi,
It's almost all.
Carlo Rossi,
Yes.
all those names from way back. In Argentina, we have also the same names, and they're mostly Italians. Of course, some Spanish.
Who would be, if there's any grandfather, who do Argentines look at as the founder of the wine industry, or the first one to make it big, or is there one name that's sort of...
It's very hard because, remember, we're Argentinians and we're Italians also. We think we all are. Everybody thinks that it's the best.
Absolutely.
So I will say that because, of course, there were traditional names, but there wasn't the name of the owner, was more the name of the wine that we know, Termidor, and things like that. But the sophistication of the wine industry today is only 20 years old or 25 years old. And that's where we started to have all these names. Producers putting their name with a lot of pride in their bottles. But there's some traditional families.
So let's move on back to celebrating Malbec, since we're working up to our Malbec Day.
Yes.
Terrazas de los Andes Single Vineyard La Compuertas Malbec 2010.
Yes.
So now we're up. This is amongst the most significant Malbecs coming out of Argentina.
Yes, and you can see immediately when you poured it, it was totally inky. And this also marks or highlights what's happening in Argentina, that the wineries are looking for their single vineyard expression.
So this is Lo Andacoyo.
Yes,
And a single vineyard.
yes.
And can you tell us about the vineyard?
Well, not about this vineyard. I'm sorry, I don't know much about this vineyard, but I can tell you that Terrazas, who is owned by Chandon, they came to Argentina. Chandon came to Argentina in the 1950s, and is one to produce sparkling. They were mostly producing sparkling.
Chandon is amazing that way.
Oh yeah,
They were everywhere before anybody else.
yeah. But Chandon Argentina was the most successful Chandon outside France.
So the Argentines love their sparkling wine?
Oh yeah, we drink a lot of sparkling. We are huge into sparklings, huge. So what I can tell you about Terrazas is Terrazas was born from Chandon not that many years ago, probably 15 or 18. Sorry guys, I'm bad with years. But definitely they went with a mission. They already had vineyards in Mendoza, but they went with a mission. The wines that we're making in Argentina, they were more light body, they were easy wines, more towards the Argentine consumer of the time. This is a wine where they zero in, is a focused winery, is a focused wine. And wow.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's a focus one. There's a lot of Malbec coming out of that nose. I got a note from Kiersey, who's helping to produce this, to make sure that I say hello to everybody out there. We say hello. We've got people watching from Paraguay, Oregon, Texas, California, Argentina, and Brooklyn, the strange country to the east of us. So cheers to everybody. I hope you guys are drinking along with us. Get your Malbec on. Get it ready for,
Yeah.
for Malbec Day. So this is like a serious expression of
Yeah.
Malbec.
This is a type of wine that for me it takes me a long time to taste because I love just to
smell it?
it.
And Astoria, Queens. I'm supposed to say Astoria for some reason. I don't know what's going on here. It's like the teleprompter. You got to be careful what's fed into the teleprompter. Terrazas de los Andes, so terraces of the Andes.
Yes, what their goal was they experimented and they analyzed what the vineyards do in different altitudes, and they do blends of the different altitudes, and that's why they call it terrazas.
So this is really because the weather is fairly consistent. There's no rain anywhere. So these single vineyard expressions really are tied to the soil and the
Yes.
elevation very much.
Yes, and the age of the vines.
The
I don't
age of
have
vines.
I don't have here the age of the vines, but probably these are 20 plus years.
Well, you're not good with age.
No,
You're
what
not
does
good with
it say?
years. First, it's located 3,500 feet above sea level, and it's old irrigated vines planted in 1929
Wow,
from a selection of pre-phylloxera Bordeaux vines. So
I knew this was
this is
old.
old.
Old, yes.
There can't be much of it.
There is an elegance. The wine is very well integrated. The alcohol, the tannins, the acidity, and it's a fleshy wine. It has a lot of flesh. Really, it opens, and it's like digging at the subway on the 2nd Avenue. Through my body.
That analogy, something that's never done, over budget, explosions are going off. It is very deep. It's got a very interesting wine. It really draws you in.
Yes.
And you get a sense of the very poor soil. There's a certain minerality underlying the fruit here.
And the wine keeps giving you different flavors throughout the tasting.
You get the sense that
Yes.
over hours and
Yeah.
years, this will evolve.
Yeah.
This is 2010, 2009, 2012. Have there been any anomalous years where there really is some issue? It's either too hot or
Because there are very few variations of climate. We had some situations during La Nina or El Nino, and sometimes, like 2002, it became one of the best vintages ever. I think that the variation in 2008 was not that good because, again, was one of the two, or La Nina or El Nino. But I think that one of the biggest changes that I have noticed from one year to the other is the expertise of the vineyard manager and the expertise of the producer, the winemaker, because it's like they are learning. It's a learning process.
it never ends.
No,
For the best,
and that's why I can see that the wines are getting better because they understand how to make it better. Today we can say that there is a huge movement now in Argentina. Before we were a captive country. There were no imports of other wines for 60 years in Argentina. Even today, although we are so successful worldwide, in Argentina they drink 85 to 90% of the wine produced.
They drink it all up. They drink it all up.
So yes, please.
So we had a question. There are two questions. There are actually three questions because I have a question as well.
Yeah.
But somebody asked what the production numbers are like for the Dedicado and for these single vineyards. Do you have that anywhere?
Let me see if I have it. No, I don't have it.
I didn't see that either.
No, but we have to say that it's definitely very, very small.
These are limited production
Yes.
items.
Oh, definitely.
And there was another question. Somebody asked if they are making sparkling Malbec in Argentina, and it was answered by somebody, I think, but we should follow up because I know that I've had.
Oh, there is. Fleischmann makes a fantastic Malbec sparkling, a sparkling of Malbec. The guys from Vine Connections they're Reginato. There is another Malbec. They're playing a lot in Argentina, making a sparklings of Malbec.
Is it accepted in Argentina, or is that looked at as some
yeah, no,
crazy? What are these crazy kids are doing?
We drink all.
You drink everything.
But what is interesting is that these sparklings made of Malbec are accepted here in the U.S.
That's a new thing, though.
Yes.
That's definitely a new thing.
Yeah.
I like sparkling red wines.
It looks, it's rosé.
It's rosé, okay.
It's rosé, but made of Malbec.
Well, Malbec makes an excellent rosé to begin with, also.
Oh,
which
fantastic.
I've seen a little bit of, but I don't know if the Argentines are drinking it all. They just don't make a lot of it. But I saw more, maybe because I was involved in retail 5 or 6 years ago. I remember seeing a couple of them and thinking it would be a big thing. And I don't know that I've seen many other producers come up with them.
There is one new rosé in the market that is from Finca Las Nubes, that is one of the best winemakers in Salta. And he's making a Malbec, a rosé Malbec, but he added tanat. So I never seen such a masculine, brooding rosé.
It's interesting. It's the rosé for red wine drinkers.
Yes. Yeah.
But my question was
Yeah.
that Chandon came down to Argentina to make sparkling wines out of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir,
Yes.
the Method Champenois.
Yes. And they also have Charmat. Baron B is their brand, famous brand in Argentina.
And so where were the vineyards for the sparkling wine production?
Well, actually, when they first started, they went all the way to Patagonia, because Patagonia was Rio Negro. I think that's an area that they wanted to go. They went
all the way. I'm trying to find.
Yes.
I know there's a map here that has.
It's the blue. It's the blue.
It's the blue.
The blue, and it's the blue. The dot that is the closest to your right, if you're looking at your screen.
Okay.
That's Rio Negro, and that's where they planted Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. But the thing is that area still is ragged, and they couldn't get people to work, or they couldn't get, Argentina, we're only 42 million, and the country is 5 times France, so it's a huge country. So they moved to Mendoza. Yeah.
So that's actually a very interesting point. It's a big country, and maybe sometimes you have vineyards where there aren't a lot of people. So is that's part of the equation that has determined how quickly people can expand, where people can put vineyards.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of mechanical harvesting going on in Argentina because of the difficulty with finding employees?
Well, people is easy to find. The problem is giving them a place to stay when you're doing something. We can go back to now Neuquén, that is a region that 15 years ago didn't exist at all. And it was Julio Viola who built now a Bodega del Fin del Mundo. And he's one of the new pioneers, because he went to this land. He had to build a water system, bringing it from the river for 20 kilometers.
Wow.
To bring water to
drinking water and
for the vineyards.
for irrigation.
For irrigation, yes.
It's a huge project.
Huge. It's amazing to see. So what's happening today in Argentina? People, like in Chile, you see when Marcelo was talking, going up, going north, going south, going to the coast. Well, in Argentina today, they're definitely going south. They are finding there is a new winery in La Pampa, Neuquén, Rio Negro. Well, it's an old region, but you have new wineries that are using old vineyards and are making Pinot Noirs out of this world. Canale is the most traditional winery in Rio Negro. But then you have La Condesa, the Countess of Cinzano. Yeah. You have Piero Chisa de la Roqueta, and they're all making these crazy
They
wines.
are indeed, yeah.
With very old vines. And people now are moving to the east, but those are experiments close to the Buenos Aires, close to the Atlantic. So there Tucumán, that didn't exist before, is part of the Calchaquí valleys, all the way in the north. Now there's 2 or 3 wineries. So the success of the wine industry in Argentina and the know-how and all these flying winemakers and the possibility for the wineries, the winery owners and the winemakers to fly and go somewhere else, they're bringing all of that to Argentina, and they're expanding. Uco Valley, 20 years ago, it was like La Mancha in Spain. Nobody wanted to go because it was very dry, no water. Today, Everybody's hot about La Mancha because it's dry, no
That's
water.
right.
And Uco Valley is the same. Nobody wanted to go because there was no water.
So we have a
That's right.
question here from
Yes.
Jay Trike, a question for you about the Dedicato. Evidently, this is made only in what Fleekman calls exceptional years.
Yeah.
Are there specific vintages that you mentioned? I think 2002.
Yes.
Are there other vintages that really have been wow vintages?
Exceptionals. It's hard. I think that 2010 was a good one, but you know what? Good one is related to many things because what we don't have our vineyards are almost organic because we don't need to spray with any chemicals because we don't have rot, we don't have humidity, but we have hail.
So that's your big. That's very interesting.
So it could be a fabulous vintage, but the vineyard was attacked by hail and it was decimated.
So you don't have rain really, but you do get hail.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Hail could be rocks like this. Most of the vineyards in Mendoza, they are covered by nets.
Actually, I saw a picture of that, and it was kind of dark. The picture was kind of dark, but you saw. I didn't know if it was hail netting or bird netting, but row after row after row.
That's hail. And they've been experimenting, putting the nets like this, putting like chalet, Swiss chalet.
That's what I saw.
Yeah,
Swiss chalet,
yeah.
Swiss chalet netting.
But those are to avoid destruction of the fruit. But you have to be careful because of the sun exposure. You still want to have good quality fruit.
Sure.
But when you put the nets,
You're cutting out and blocking out some of the sun.
So there is and also it's very expensive. But you can have. It's like in Miami when it rains in one block and the other one doesn't.
Next door doesn't rain.
So it could be that it falls hail in one quarter of a vineyard and that vineyard is totally decimated. It will take 5 years to grow again to be 7 years, 10 years. So that's a big problem.
So it's kind of interesting because there were several financial issues that you've presented. Getting irrigation, protecting against hail. It's almost surprising that people are still expanding their operations, and it's also surprising because the wines are not particularly. A lot of the wines are not terribly expensive in the U.S. But it seems to be, and starting a vineyard is always very financially difficult. It's a financially what's the word I'm looking for? Intensive type of farming.
Yeah, it is.
But here it's even more because the irrigation can be
but
wildly expensive.
But there are water laws, or water rights, that the government institutes. So everybody, when a producer buys a vineyard, he has to know that there's some water rights and that he will have water coming down from and now they have a reservoir. So definitely it's expensive, but of course you cannot compare an acre of vineyards in Napa to the cost of an acre of vineyards in Argentina.
No.
Not yet.
I would imagine there are a couple of extra. It's easier. I mean, finding an acre in Napa to plant is a gigantic challenge.
Yes.
I was just somebody just told me, I forget where the most expensive vineyard land is, and I forgot. It was not in Napa, and I was surprised at that. So we're going to move on. This is our final wine. And so here we move to the north to Salta, right? So this is Michel Torino, Altimos, 2010. Took me a second to figure out what the Roman labels were, but it's 2010. So this is a blend of Malbec, 60%, Cabernet Sauvignon, 25%, 62 Malbec, 63 Malbec. I know this is like 2-point font on the back here. I can't read that. This is here.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
54 Malbec.
That's not this one.
I know. Altimos.
Yeah, this is different.
Okay.
This is it's approximately.
Yes.
This is too small to read. 60% Malbec, 25% Cabernet, 7% Tannat. I don't know. Somebody out there with better eyes, read the back label. Tell me what it says.
So definitely, you brought up a word, Tannat.
Tannat.
And Tannat is from Madiran. In South America, who makes Tannat wines? Uruguay.
Uruguay, yeah, absolutely.
But where do you find Tannat? In Salta, the northernmost province wine region in Argentina. We have vineyards in Salta that go up 10,000 feet above sea level.
That's some serious
Yes.
vineyards.
Some crazy people. And
it's 68% Malbec. Thank you.
thank you.
Did I get the Cabernet and I got everything else right, I think. 68, 60 looks alike.
So this is Altimus.
Wine Wonket. Thank you. This is Altimus, the highest.
The highest,
Latin.
yes.
Altimus.
Well, Michel Torino was founded by the Torino brothers in the 1890s, and is one of the traditional premier wineries from the region. Now we have Hess from Colomé, we have Michel Roland, we have my friend Mounier, who is this fabulous winemaker that used to work under Michel Roland when he was working at Echard. We have Echard, another premium winery. And Salta is the house of Torrontés.
Which is the white
Equivalent.
of Malbec, yes.
Yes.
It's
our grape.
In Argentina, is it sort of considered as... Because it's always difficult to understand if Malbec and Torrontés are the Argentine grapes in the U.S. mind, or if it's actually in Argentina the same way.
Well, Torrontés has been one of the most popular white wines in Argentina for the longest time. And definitely Torrontés from Salta is one of the best. And it's actually the only grape that is, we could say, that is totally ours, because it's a natural cross that happened 300 years ago, 200, nobody knows, between Muscat of Alexandria and Criolla.
Okay.
So that's our
So
Torrontés.
it's your indigenous variety.
Yes. So now, color. We talked before about the thermal amplitude. Okay. In Salta, it can be 105 degrees during the day at noontime, and it goes down to 50 at night. You see the color? Reds from Salta are the brightest and the most dense.
This is dense. This is dense. This is the little bit of the bottle shot. People like to include that.
Yeah.
I believe this is...
Yeah. Oh my God. So, because this is our last wine, Greg, let's say salud.
Salud. Salud. We have a question here from Advice Sister. Do people in Argentina dine late, like in Greece?
Oh yeah. I don't know Greece, but in Argentina, if you go at 8 o'clock to a restaurant, you're eating with the waiters.
Yeah. Up at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, yeah, you are an early bird. You're an American having dinner.
It's 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
It's amazing, the different customs around the world.
And babies, you can take your children at 11 o'clock at the restaurant, they're eating.
So here, first thing that hits me texturally, how different this is. This is it's a different beast entirely. This is really finely focused.
Beautiful spiciness.
Beautiful spiciness, beautiful detail on the palate. Just beautiful texture. It's a relatively powerful wine, but it's at the same wine also fairly lightweight on the palate. And it says 15% alcohol. I think it holds its alcohol exceptionally well.
Steak.
This is like a knife.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a question here, and it's a very interesting question. Somebody asked, a big jump in price. These are $50. The Altimus is $50. The Terrazas de los Andes is $50. The Dedicado is $25. And somebody asked, do you guys think it's worth almost double? It's actually slightly more than double, 24 to 50. But okay, the question is very valid, and it's a very interesting question. And I think that here's one of the big problems with wine. The more expensive a wine gets, the less, for lack of a better word, the less ready it is when it's released for the most part. Great wines are more expensive because people cellar them, because people tend to expect something special to happen as they evolve. And as far as a worth question, wine is only worth what you think it's worth. If you don't think it's worth double, then it's not worth double. Do I think it's worth double to drink today? I'm not sure for today. Out of all four of these wines, I could say the Alchemist is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That's no question. They're all excellent, but that's the kind of things that goes into it's a value judgment.
Yes, a value judgment. But if we think about the winery, why when they produce, let's say, the Terrazas or the Ultimos and even Flichman Dedicato, they have, let's say, 1,000 acres of vineyards or 500 acres of vineyards. They had to select probably 50 acres that will be dedicated to these type of wines. And then they have to do green harvest. They have to make sure that the grapes are of the top quality.
Which is lots of canopy management for
Yes,
sun.
yes, it's very intense.
It's very intensive work.
And then they have to think of the oak aging process. And probably they have to use new French oak. And the barriques today are close to $1,000 one.
Sure.
So, and then they have to think of the bottle and the cork. Even if the bottle is not as heavy as the Flichman, you require a cork that is at least 5 millimeters or 6 on the centimeters. I said millimeters.
I was going to say, these are pretty cheap, those. And these are probably
long
even,
ones.
Even a little more.
So, if I have to make an equation, is a Ferrari Testarossa better than a Ford? So, yes.
Not if you're going shopping.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
This is interesting because we spoke about Bernarda before.
Yes.
Would I buy this wine to serve with pizza or a hamburger? No. I mean, this for me, this Altimos, it wouldn't. What popped into my mind were big roasted beef ribs, something that's very intense, or short ribs, very intense, very rich, that needs a wine that's powerful like this, but that has cut that can refresh the palate after you're eating some braised or grilled, deep, intense food.
Yeah. And this is also, it has to be a unique culinary experience. This is a wine to enjoy, and you cannot drink it. I have to sit on this wine. It's not a wine to quaff.
No, this is not a quaffing wine. Not a quaffing wine. It is interesting, though, because for me, we tried the Dedicato, and I got more, which is the other blend. I got more Cabernet and maybe a little Syrah of that. This Altimos, even though it's a lower percentage of Malbec, it seems to be speaking more of Malbec, to me at least, than the Dedicato.
And you notice the acidity.
Yes.
Because you talked about the 15 degrees alcohol. Where is the alcohol? It's not in the nose, it's not in the palate, it's not in the throat. So where is the alcohol? The alcohol is perfectly blended with the acidity, with the body, the tannins and everything. And it's a 2010.
It's hard. I mean, it is.
These tannins are not 2010 tannins.
No, very refined.
Yes.
Very polished, sweet tannins. But it is frankly surprising that this, has 15% or around 15% alcohol.
Yeah.
And there's just no reason for them to lie. Very impressive wine. Question here: any wine vacation spots in Argentina? Actually, I've spoken to several people though that the Argentine wine industry is just sort of catching up with the idea about wine tourism.
Yes, there is a huge now enoturism, and it's Cavas de Lodge in Mendoza. There are several places and hotels. There are wineries that have restaurants with wonderful chefs. So, and you can find them in Mendoza. You can find them also in Salta, and I think that also in Neuquén. So I think that there is much more respect towards tourism now. And the wineries are open, and they're receiving, and they have fabulous food.
It's a very important piece of the wine marketing puzzle.
It took a while.
It takes a long time. California's got an advantage because it's easy to get to. We speak the language. You can drive easily from
But to me,
area to area.
I think that California was a fantastic teacher because they showed the way.
Absolutely.
In many ways.
There were many. I was just going to say there were many lessons to be learned. Not all of them worked perfectly, but many lessons to be learned.
I have tremendous respect. Because all these wines that we're tasting today, although we could say that the Terraza was a little bit more French style, in a little bit, but all these wines represents a modern style of winemaking. And for that, we have to take our hats to the California wine industry.
Who definitely led the way. We have Zinfandel 1, who said, Nora, you sold me on Malbec. So we've got at least one convert. It really is a very interesting grape. It's a lot of fun to try Malbec. I think the blends today and other blends that I've had, it's very interesting to see how they work, how Malbec works with Cabernet and some other things.
And I think it's about exploring, because if I think we had a wine that was $12.99, and for my God, I became Catholic all of a sudden. But definitely, there is a lot of things. I think that Malbec, because we have diverse soils, we have diverse altitude, we have that diverse climate, is a question of exploring. You cannot find one Malbec similar to the other. They all have some components that are the base, but each of them is going to give you something.
Something extra. So one last question here. Wine, Food, Travel Arts wants to know how many wines were entered in the AWA competition.
Okay, I have the number.
We have the exact number.
Yes. Over 700 samples from 182 Argentine wineries. 24 achieved trophy, whereas 49 reached a gold medal, 242 silver, and 314 bronze. And this is this year was the 7th edition of the Argentine Wine Awards. This year they did it with the young guns, the young generation. So they wanted to have people, sommeliers, wine writers, bloggers, and wine professionals that were under 40. That's why they didn't call me.
For me. It's sad. It's sad when you're no longer.
But they qualify the wines by varietal and by price range. And within the 20 categories that they had 5 different price brackets. And trophy, for the first time this year, before it was one trophy among everything, each category, almost every category had a trophy.
Fantastic. We're out of time, so we're going to wrap things up. I just want to thank everybody out there for joining us. I want to thank Nora for being here with us. Malbec World Day, April 17th. That's this week. So after you've watched all of this and have got your whistle wetted for Malbec, go out there, buy a bottle or two, and enjoy it on the 17th, which is Wednesday, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, Wednesday.
Wednesday is Malbec Day. I cannot raise an empty glass, so bear with me for 1 second while I pour more wine in my glass. Nora, thank you so much.
Salud.
Salud. Get to know Malbec, get to know the wines of Argentina. There's a lot of wine out there. It's a fascinating portfolio of wines. And try a Bonarda. That's just my little at the end. I just like Bonarda. So that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.